This message is being sent from Toronto, not Tel Aviv as I did last week. Despite all the recent turmoil, not the least of flight schedules, we landed yesterday, and I'm grateful to be back with all of you. It occurred to me that during and after the Second World War, there was language that came from it that never left us. Words and expressions like no sweat, washed out, armed to the teeth, G.I. Joe, are now unforgettable parts of the English language. I suspect the COVID-19 story has brought to us some language that we'll never forget. Words now like social distancing and flattening the curve will live on to tell the story of this unforgettable and unimaginable moment. But coming back to Toronto, I see a city that is behind the curve that we left in Israel. Nearly 3 weeks ago, Israel imposed a series of ever-tightening closures, border restrictions, and quarantines. And now landing back here, I have the eerie sense of seeing it happen all over again, as if for the first time. And out of the tales of quarantine and restriction in Israel, gave birth to some really unusual stories. I want to share some of them with you. Israel's famed spy agency, the Mossad, was reported to have scoured the world, and they procured over 4 million COVID-19 tests. Everyone in the country applauded their energy and ingenuity until it was discovered that they forgot to buy the swabs that they collect the samples with. True story. People here are still laughing about it, and I can only think of the poor guy who made the mistake. Another story? Netflix Israel announced that it was reducing the streaming quality of its shows. So many people, it seems, were streaming at the same time that it threatened to literally, actually crash the internet. Now, I never thought you could do that, but I guess you can. And looking at Netflix, you can see the most popular shows being watched, and they fall into 2 categories: apocalyptic movies like Pandemic and Contagion, and old shows like The Office, Friends, and Frasier are absolutely booming. And it seems to me this is because in difficult moments, we want to watch things that tell us that problems of all kinds happen, from fictional stories of Frasier's ego and pandemic illnesses, and that it all works out. But let me tell you a story that isn't on Netflix. It's Judaism's story. And this is a true story of redemption. Think about it. The Israelites are torturously enslaved, but are taken into freedom. The Jews sin with the golden calf, but their children enter into the promised land. In the story of Ruth, Naomi loses all of her children, but gains a daughter-in-law who saves her life. In recent memory, we tell ourselves of the annihilation of European Jewry, but then Israel was built, which is to say, rather than crushing us, these difficulties strengthen us not to give up. And that's a story that lives in you, in us all. It's not just words, but it's breath and soul and heart. The story is real because we are. The ancient rabbis teach that on the 6th day of creation, Adam and Eve were brought to life. They were put into the Garden of Eden. They sinned with the fruit and then were exiled, all on the same day. And then on the 7th day, the day after, God created Shabbat as comfort. So this evening, as the sun sets, as Shabbat joins us, let us find comfort in knowing what our ancestors believed to be profoundly true, that the better will come, and we will be a part of that. Shabbat Shalom. My blessings for happiness, safety, and above all else, health.